Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. Well, it's Friday now, and 3 days have elapsed since the presidential election, and the outlines of the election are now becoming clear. Sometime today, almost certainly, Joe Biden will pass the 270 mark. He's drawn ahead in Georgia, he's drawn ahead in Pennsylvania. Um, he's still on track. We don't know yet. He's still on track to win Arizona, even though almost all media outlets other than Fox News have withdrawn Arizona as in the belonging to Biden's column. Um, so with everything else then gone, and it's clear that Biden will pass the 270 mark with some ease. Now the fight will switch to the courts. The Trump people are bringing lawsuits in a number of states: Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, Nevada. So it's a whole scale attack on the integrity of the election. Whether they will be successful is, I think, doubtful. Courts don't like to second guess votes. And unfortunately, the US Supreme Court very seriously dropped the ball on Pennsylvania. I mean, everyone knew Pennsylvania would be a key state, and they just sort of had it 4-4, which means that it went back down to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And unfortunately, Amy Coney Barrett failed in her very first test. She recused herself when there was really no need for her to recuse herself. Had she agreed to take the case, and with 5-4, decision would have meant that Pennsylvania would not have been able to just count the votes in the haphazard way they've been allowed to count it. Nevertheless, we now moved to the next stage, which is the fight in the courts. And then, of course, later on, there's the next stage, which is the seating of the electors. Republicans control many of the legislatures in the battleground states. And if there is a belief, a widespread belief among Republicans that this election was stolen, then they may simply not agree to seat the electors. So we could well be in for quite a long, bitter fight. Okay, what's your take, Peter?
Well, number one, I don't think the legal option going to the courts is really going to go anywhere. I just don't. As you just pointed out, the courts don't. They really shy away from that. They don't. They really don't want to get involved. I think people think that the 2000 Supreme Court decision is some kind of norm. It's not. Okay, it was truly exceptional, and I don't think the courts are going to really want to get involved in it at this point. And because the courts always say that this is a legislative thing, okay, that it's your laws, okay, and they don't like to intervene. So I'm not surprised by that, and I don't. It's being done because they want to show that they want to resist it, okay? Because I believe, and this is my opinion, knowing American history, is that, American elections are very corrupt, okay? I mean, there's a long, long history of it, okay? I mean, you and I have mused before how LBJ bragged about it, okay?
Right.
When he was in
And there was, of
Texas
course, the
politics.
1960 election, which was almost certainly stolen in
From
Illinois by Mayor Daley and his Cook County political machine, and in Texas, which was run by LBJ and his pal John Connolly. So almost certainly those two states stole that election. So yes, but go.
So, but I also think is what's interesting is that beyond the seating of the electors, which I think you're absolutely right, and we'll see how that plays out. But what's happening now is a narrative is being developed about the legitimacy of the election. Because I think that if we can use Fox News as an example, I think they obviously see the writing on the wall, but they want to make it clear to their viewers that this wasn't the the electoral process wasn't straight with them. And I think there's credence to that, okay? Credence to it, okay? Particularly the stories of election observers not being given access. All of a sudden, it's really kind of remarkable if you look at them on an American time. It's like Trump at like 2:40 in the morning comes out and makes this statement and essentially saying that he had won. And then around 4 o'clock in the Eastern Seaboard time, all of a sudden, all counting across the country stops. Why? Why did that happen? Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm just asking a question. Is there a reasonable answer to it? I'd love to know. Okay, I think it's a fair question because technically elections are supposed to be transparent. Okay, that's what they're supposed to be about. And virtually every single state has laws passed by their legislatures allowing partisan observers to watch the ballot, the canvassing of the ballot. So that's not unreasonable to ask. Now there are claims that those partisan observers weren't given access. I mean, I've seen testimonials. I mean, I have to assume that they're telling me the truth. The interesting thing, George, for me, is with I think we're in the 90 percentile, 99 percentile, that the Republicans will retain the Senate. And I think this is really influencing their reaction to the presidential election, because while they give lip service to Donald Trump, he never was one of them, okay? He was never accepted as one of them, okay? And so I don't really see them. I mean, Lindsey Graham goes on Hannity and saying, I'm going to $500,000 legal aid. I mean, okay, that's maybe some of the cash he got from his election, so he can pass that on. But I think it's more lip service than anything else, because if they can maintain the Senate, and Nancy Pelosi had her caucus eroded. I mean, they were feeling, okay, we didn't get everything, but we there was no blue wave.
Right.
And control the Senate. I mean, the thing is that, you need to go to Calvary at this point because the worst possible scenario didn't occur. As a matter of fact, everyone keeps focusing on Trump and Biden, but the landscape is very interesting because the Republicans did pretty good on Tuesday night.
But that's the thing. To what then do they attribute their success? Because but they will have to say, it was Trump. It was Trump who carried them over the line. This was a massive, massive repudiation of the Democratic Party, of Nancy Pelosi. Because what's going to happen in the House, it isn't just that they lost a few seats. The Republicans have almost drawn level. I mean, she's almost lost control of the House. I mean, I think she'll just retain it, but it may only be a majority of 1 or 2. It is a staggering defeat for her. Yes. Staggering defeat against her. Now, but then they can't just say, well, it's us and not Trump. Trump is the leader of the party. And it makes all the more incongruous Biden's spectacular victory. He took the 3 big industrial Midwestern states. He rode into the South, took Georgia, took Arizona, won in Nevada. At the time when the Democrats were getting hammered everywhere, not just in the federal election, but in the state houses. So therefore, the fraud argument is pretty pretty strong. There's also the other thing: the presidency is the prize. You don't have that, you really don't have anything. I mean, the Republicans had a majority in the legislature for most of the Obama years, but Obama was the one who called the shots. He could just do things by executive action, even though he didn't control either house of Congress.
Yeah, but I think for the Republican leadership, they're saying, well, we didn't get the prize, but our system is not broken, so why make such a big fuss? The thing is, I don't see them.
For an obvious reason, because Biden can, by executive fiat, change the immigration rules in the United States and therefore alter the demography of the United States forever and keep the Republicans in a minority forever. So that's quite a big deal.
Let's remember, George, from 2016 to 2018, the Republicans were sitting real pretty, okay? And what did they do? They did nothing.
That's true.
Okay,
No,
nothing.
that's very true.
So I'm not refuting your argument. What I'm just saying is I don't see, again, I don't see the political will out there because with a few notables on cable TV, the Republican Party never embraced Trump, and they just think, this is a very strong thing to say, but I think they just kind of wash their hands of him. Okay, let him be the leader of the party. Fine, let him be the new resistance. That's all nice and fine. Okay, but did Mitch McConnell ever do anything for Donald Trump?
No,
I don't think so.
McConnell didn't. But the fact is that without Trump, the Republican Party has almost no basis for ever winning a presidential election. Let's just remember, Republicans have now failed to win a majority of the vote in 7 of the 8 last presidential elections. That is an amazing thing. I mean, even with Trump, they didn't win the majority of the vote, but Trump at least made them competitive in the industrial Midwest, where they ceased to be competitive. The notion that somehow, we're going to have Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or even Rand Paul or Josh Hawley, and they will have Trumpism without Trump. That's a joke. Without Trump's personality, without Trump's charisma, without Trump's energy, they have no hope of winning over those industrial Midwestern states.
Okay, all the names you just mentioned, where are they right now? Why aren't they leading the call?
Well, Ted Cruz has been to a certain extent. At least he was on television, has been.
No, but you just made my point, okay? You just made my point, okay? Where's Ron Paul, okay? I think that's what it gets really down to. I mean, the thing is that the people like McConnell, he's looking already at 2022. How the party. The thing is that if the Republicans are smart, and they usually aren't, okay, take a look, have a forensic autopsy of this election here, because I do believe that there's a realignment going on, and if they can understand that, Trump created a kind of a template. Yeah, and they're going to have to continue using it.
I know, but I mean, that is a sort of the delusion that you can have Trumpism without Trump. I don't see it. I mean, because ultimately it was he who kind of drove the Republican Party forward. The idea that you can sort of embrace a certain a measure of populism and then also have a kind of a interventionist foreign policy, which all of these Republicans that I mentioned embrace, it just isn't going to work. I mean, Trump was a kind of sui generis. He won states that Republicans hadn't won since the 1980s, and I just don't see any of the.
But I look at this. Doing that. I look at the cynicism of politicians. Okay, they're gonna say, well, I don't really owe you much. Okay, I mean, because when he doesn't have the power,
right,
it diminishes here.
I agree. I'm not.
Hang on. There is a difference, and this is what this election tells us. There is a difference between the party hierarchy and the base, and they're not aligned. They've never been aligned at all under Trump. Okay.
No, I agree with. But I know Mitch McConnell is just he's just the floor leader. I mean, he's not the party. I mean, he's just the floor leader. He knows how to, get all the committee assignments, keep everybody happy. That's what he does. He's not. But the people that I mentioned, the names I mentioned, they are considered the future of the Republican Party. These are the sort of the Trumpians without Trump, and that's why I mentioned them. I don't see any of them. I don't see Rand Paul going to Michigan and winning over Michigan. I don't see Josh Hawley doing that. I don't see Marco Rubio. Any of the people who are supposedly even the one who everyone's now talking about. And maybe he's the sort of now the front runner, Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, because he's getting rave reviews because of what happened in Florida. Even he, it's going to be very hard for any of them to replicate what Trump did. I don't disagree with you that they are very cynical and they're all measuring themselves for 2024, and they think that, hey, forget Trump, it's going to be me. I don't see it, particularly as the party is devoted to Trump, and they're not going to. They're going to
Oh, there you go
continue
again. No, there you go again.
following him.
No, there you go again. The
I mean, the
party
party.
isn't.
I don't mean the party. I mean the party followers, the people who actually go to these rallies, the people who are enthusiastic, the ones who go vote. For them, Trump is their leader, and they're not just going to start. Okay, well, forget that. Let's switch over to Rand Paul.
That's the dilemma that the Republicans face. I mean, there are opportunities here because I think you see the base evolving, which I think it can be an electoral success if you seriously dissect it here. No, you're absolutely right. It's always about the person of Donald Trump, which he likes, of course. And it's going to be a dilemma for the party to move forward because, I've been asked many, many times, is there such a thing as Trumpism? And I think maybe as a result of this election, and even in defeat, I think actually there is now. Okay, I was very hesitant to use that word before because it is a electoral formula and to some degree a policy one. It's still pretty blurry, but I think it's the beginning of something. You're right. What's going to happen to Trump? A lot of that's going to depend on what Trump wants to happen. But you're right. I mean, he's in between the McConnells of the party and his base. And we're going to have to see who needs whom more. But it's not going to be very simple. My bottom line here, George, is that the Republican Party just never truly embraced Donald Trump. Okay, his base did.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. So what happens now? Let's say all of the tactics that Trump is going to try will fail. So he fails in the courts. He fails to unseat the electors and put his own slate in. What then happens? Well, we know Trump. Trump is a man of great energy. He refuses to give up. He will immediately proclaim that he is the legitimate president of the United States and that he is getting ready to run again in 2024. And, the notion that Ted Cruz may think, hey, well, I can challenge Trump. It's a joke. I mean, does anyone really believe that Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Josh Hawley, or any of the others have the slightest chance?
No, George. No. That's assuming Trump wants to do it in 2024.
Absolutely.
How old will he be?
He will be the same age as Biden is now, but he's a man of much greater energy than Biden. I don't know what will happen. He might just collapse and have no energy, but he doesn't look like somebody who's on the brink of losing his energy. So we have to assume that he intends to run in 2024. I think we have to assume that. Unless health issues arise, we have to assume he intends to run in 2024.
Well, yeah. Again, what will be the tension between Trump and the party itself? That'll be very, very interesting. Just for me, in the last 3 days, I have taken notice. Where is the Justice Department about these allegations? Where are they?
Yeah.
Okay. You have Ron DeSantis. You have Josh Hawley and a couple others going on cable defending the president. But for me, it's not enough. They just don't have the stomach. Okay. And that's a problem moving forward, because as we both agree, in the Oval Office or out, Donald Trump is a force of nature. Okay.
Right.
And for some Republicans, it's going to be a real annoyance. And for his base, if he said that he's going to run again, you bet they're going to back him up. You bet. There's nobody else out there for
nobody else.
It's not that simple. We have we don't even have this cycle done before we get to the next one. Okay. And there are midterms in between.
Midterms in between. Now, I think Trump will almost certainly start his own media organization to rival that of Fox. I think that will succeed, because I think that he will probably get Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham to join his rival media organization. And that's going to have a huge impact on the base, the political base. They're going to be revved up every evening to let's wait till Trump is back in the White House. And in other words, let's count off the days before we can vote in the first primary. I'm sure that's going to be Sean Hannity, 1,010 days before we can vote in the first primary for Trump. And so that's going to be the
that'll be on the bottom of the screen.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Days.
Yeah, exactly. The Iowa caucuses. How many days to that?
Well, we're getting really far ahead of ourselves. But if we can get right back now and more seriously, I'm very, very worried, George, because the what is being reported and not reporting. See, this again, I've always talked about how the mainstream media will downplay a story and let Fox do it, and people say, "Oh, that's a Fox narrative. It's a Fox story." We're really getting that now on steroids, and I'm not questioning the reporting of Fox News. I actually really appreciate that they're going around the country showing about.
We should distinguish. Remember, Fox News. I mean, and why I think Trump will launch a rival to Fox News, because the Fox News has lost its followers. What Fox News did on election night in calling Arizona for Biden has truly infuriated its viewership. And I think Fox is very vulnerable because liberals hate it, obviously, but now conservatives hate it because it doesn't deliver for them what they want. Now they like those three stars, the primetime, the three primetime stars. Hates everybody else. For them, Fox News is it's all Chris Wallace or that Melissa Francis, the one who said, "Don't criticize George Soros when you come on my show." So I think that's why I do think that Trump is going to try to get even. I mean, he's somebody who is quite spiteful. I think he's going to try and get even with Fox News for what they did to him. So I think that's but yeah, so that's quite a long way ahead. But in the immediate term, there's going to be the fight in the courts. That I think is Trump's chances aren't really great there. But the fight for the electors may be quite interesting. But you're right. I mean, we have to see what the other Republicans are going to do. I mean, so far you're right. They haven't exactly stuck their neck out for him.
They haven't stuck their neck out, and because of maintaining control of the Senate, that's the key to all of this. Because for those major players, they're safe for the next 6 years. Okay, they can sit back on their laurels here, and they will be able to put basically a doorstop on the Biden administration. So
well, not if they rule by executive action. Remember Obama.
No, you're right. But at the same time, the level of obstructionism that McConnell and his ilk can do is, they're outside of executive orders, and he does executive orders at his peril, okay? Because you want to divide the country even more. Okay, go ahead, Joe, go ahead. Because 2022 is coming up. For them, it's always the next election here. Right. For Trump's base, it's about one man, okay? And that's the difference here. I mean, when the Republican Party, which I don't really like very much, okay? And most of the characters I don't like for foreign policy reasons that you just mentioned here. Right. But for them, literally the party goes on. And their lack of great affection for Trump during the last 4 years, they're just going to say, I'm going to have to choose the party and their own personal self-interest or Trump. And you know what they're going to choose, okay? They're going to choose themselves because they like the donor class. The donor class soured on Trump, okay? Really, I mean, they shifted, okay? So it's good, if the donors aren't really interested, why should they? Because that's what these people do. They spend 90% of their time pleasing their donors, okay? Not Donald Trump.
Right. Well, I think so. But I think that they have unpleasant memories of the Obama years, which is that Obama, fine, he lost control of Congress. So he just simply went ahead and ruled by executive fiat. And I think that if they think, okay, well, Biden won't be able to pass any of his legislative program. No, that's true. He's not going to do that. But he has things at his disposal. And particularly on the issue of immigration, which I think that's the one that Democrats are really going to zero in on. There, they have the example of Obama to guide them. Obama ruled by executive action. I mean, when he basically granted the status to this DACA, that was he did this by executive action. I think that's what the Democrats will do. But it is true. I mean, these are delusional people who think that they are true leaders. I mean, they all have enormous egos, and no doubt Ted Cruz thinks that he can be the leader of the party. He can be the party nominee. I mean, to us on the outside, the idea is laughable. That, Cruz has no support outside of the South. The idea that he's going to go up north and anyone's going to vote for him is a joke. Or someone like Rand Paul, totally devoid of any kind of charisma. I mean, it's just but I'm sure in their own fevered imaginings, they see themselves as sitting in the Oval Office as the next president. But yeah, it's laughable.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that what Trump's insight into American politics in 2016 was truly unique, and I think we saw that he capitalized on that in this election. It just didn't work out for him personally. But again, this is something that, I say this almost every single video we make here, is that when you look at the coalition, more Hispanics, more Black Americans, other minorities that voted for Donald Trump. I mean, that is an interesting reckoning if they're smart enough, to see it. Okay,
I agree. Because but one thing, but one caveat to that, and which other people have now noted, the one group that he has lost support among,
white men,
and substantially, and white men comprise a larger chunk of the population than African Americans. So that's great that, minority outreach, you've increased your support of minority, but you can't afford to lose white men.
There's a caveat to that caveat, George, and those are suburban white men. Okay.
Oh, yeah, maybe, yeah. I think that's true.
And that is the dividing line here. I mean, everybody says race. It's not. It's class and it's zip code. Okay, class and zip code. Okay. Right. And that's what it's all about. And you have to start understanding how to expand the party. And that means, number one, get rid of these fools called the libertarians, get them out of the way, okay? And then start looking about how this coalition is changing and start capitalizing on it. Right. Because, the person that had the worst night on election night was Nancy Pelosi, okay? She had her worst nightmares come true, okay? Yep. Because Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, I mean, he also blew a fuse, okay? Because the Comrade de Blasio, I mean, really discredited the party, okay? And with this lawlessness and this ridiculous new bail law, all of this stuff, people are like, whoa, enough of this, okay? So Nancy Pelosi, I'm glad it's called payback, and payback is a bitch, isn't it, Nancy?
Right. No, I think you think what she did for the last 4 years. I mean, I think that you think, well, maybe it wasn't such a good idea to push for impeachment over a telephone call. Maybe it wasn't such a great idea to refuse to do any work with the President of the United States. Disastrous leadership.
Like disaster where's the goddamn stimulus package? Right. Okay, Nancy, you're the one. I mean, you put all your goodies in there. That is subverting democracy. We need to deal with the pandemic, and we need to deal with the working class people, because you already gave money to the rich. They're all right, okay? And then all the other woke and PC nonsense that you wanted to stuck in there. You could have had what they call a skinny bill, and the middle class, middle America would have been very grateful. It's on you, Nancy, for doing that, okay? Yep. And you let the Republicans off the hook. You left the Republicans off the hook because they don't have their fingerprints all over it. You do, Nancy.
All right. Yeah, that's that is right. I think they can, they will congratulate themselves on, at this moment, it looks like they have the presidency, and they'll say, okay, well, at least we did that. We got Trump out. And I think, as we've discussed today, that's that's not good. That's easier said than done. He's not someone.
George, I got a question for you. If Biden crosses the line, are they going to give the nuclear codes to Joe or to Kamala?
Well, I guess it'll be Kamala. Kamala. Yes, yes. A really safe and reliable person. I think that the Biden-Harris years will be an absolute calamity for the United States. First of all, because this election is clouded in charges of fraud that just are not going to go away, and because they're both utterly incompetent. They're hopeless, incompetent, not very intelligent people who have no business running, a Chinese takeout, let alone the government of the United States.
Well, I mean, who are the losers? The media is a loser because they got it all wrong. The pollsters got it all wrong. Okay. Mm-hmm. The Democrats had a bad night, okay, irrespective of Joe, but it was everything that they put in for 4 years. What did they get? They got a little consolation prize, okay? They got a little scarecrow in the Oval Office, okay? That's what they get. Look at all of the money was spent on against Lindsey Graham. What a joke! He won with double digits. That's right. The most expensive Senate, the most expensive campaign outside of a presidential campaign in American history. Okay, right. Where did the money go? Okay, so all of these people, all of these campaign consultants and all that, they lined their pockets, and I have to believe now that they knew it was all lies, but they kept taking the money anyway. People get to figure these things out. It's all big scam. It's all, these are all grifters. They're all grifters. Okay, and what's happening in Middle America, watching all of the grift. Okay, we have to go through this circus when people are in pain.
Well, that's a very good point. I mean, these political consultants are absolute geniuses in stoking the egos of politicians. They tell them, well, the polls are showing that you have a really good shot at winning. And they take all this money, and they give all this money. And then, of course, the politician has no chance of winning. They had no chance of knocking over Lindsey Graham. They had no chance of knocking over Mitch McConnell. But instead, they spent huge amounts of money, and the donors are out of pocket. Well, who cares about the donors? They deserve it. But but as you say, it's a grift. I mean, the political consultancy business is a total scam, and it's a scam because politicians have such massive egos. The easiest thing to do is to go to a known entity and say, I think you've got a really, really good shot at winning this state. Oh, well, okay, well, here's a few hundred.
We can end on this note here, because I think it's the most important takeaway from this election as we wait for Joe to be pushed over the line, is that the narrative that Trump's style and his content of his policy was a fluke has been shown to be not true. Now it is very much part of the fabric of American political life and discourse here. The left fundamentally understood that. They never understood 2016, and with all of the resources they had, they couldn't understand it even in this election as well. Okay, and so that's why we are at the abyss. And we're all staring down because their miscalculations, their blind prejudice and hatred has brought the country to this brink. And it's their fault for doing it. Jack Dorsey, Zuckerberg, all of the left cable news stations, New York Times, Washington Post, all of these people, you brought the country to the abyss. And you know what? You still don't have any answers at all. And you probably didn't even really pop a bottle of champagne because you lost everything that you were hoping.
No, I think that's right. I mean, and I think that...
And they lost Trump because Trump was their cash cow.
Right. Well, that's right. But I think that is the thing, that what we're going to have now is a profound bitterness on the part of half of the country who think that this election was stolen, and they're not just going to let it go. Biden,
no.
who makes these conciliatory stages. Well, now the election is over. Let's put all the bitterness behind us. No, you didn't put the bitterness of 2016 behind you. You didn't say, okay, well, we lost. Let's work with the guy who won. And now you expect us to do it when there's more evidence of of malfeasance now than there was that whole ridiculous Russiagate story. So yeah, I mean,
And don't forget about Hunter.
That's Hunter is all right. Well, we will be watching this with our customary laser-like focus, particularly in the next couple of days. So thank you very much, Peter. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye-bye.